President Muhammadu Buhari threatens ultimate destruction of bandits after another content and standards of reporting into... Yes.
Thank you. Good evening.
Great. Quantum, you're a security expert, so I'm going to start with you. The president is talking tough yet again in terms of, the bandits, in fact, generally about terrorism and the fact that at least 40 people were killed in Kaduna State has become more of a theater for these bandits, even though we also hear that some of these terrorists...
Once again, thanks for having me. It's quite an unfortunate situation that we keep losing our citizens in this kind of situations. But the president's talking tough at the moment is not the solution to the issue. If you could recall, when these issues were heating up in Zamfara, we have discussed on this program and we have set out some strategies that, except we change, I think we should rather change the security strategy, rather talking tough when the damage has been done, without actually changing the strategy, whereby a local government chairman should also have a command to the security in his location. The governor should have command with security in his state, and XYZ. We keep having issues because the divisional police officers that are in those local government where these issues are handled, if you go there, you might discover that they are not properly armed, they are not taking directives from the political classified and taking action. So the whole channel will not work. And today we have an explosion of bandits in Zamfara that has intruded Sokoto. Tomorrow it might trickle down into another state and on and on and on. So I think the president should not just talk tough. The president should be able to rejig his security architecture so that we should start having security commands right from neighborhoods so that we can be classifying information, intelligence at that level for us to be able to handle some of these situations, because it's quite sad that up till now we are in this mess, having this thing on our hands for so many years, and we have not been able to develop a strategy to curtail this. And every now and then we are here lamenting how we are losing our fellow citizens because we are refusing to take action that will save them.
It's interesting that you mention all of these things again and again, and what I'm thinking is, what's the challenge? Because this is some forces. In other words, his word is final. And we know, just as you explained, how power, trickles down in terms of the forces.
They're in public domain for them to use. Then for them not to be using them, obviously, we have a problem with the political leadership. Either they are politicizing the whole situation and we keep losing our citizens, or they don't have the governor stood up and took side with the citizens of the state. To a point, he has to have issues with the federal government, but he stood his ground. And today, those bandits that were trying to explode from that album have been wiped out because the government today came out publicly to expose them and then keep insisting that they were there and they were ignoring them. And to a large extent, they have been rooted out of that place, and Benue is relatively safe now, except with some clashes of Fulani headsmen and XYZ. So I think that the political leadership is a failure in this situation, because even if the federal government is being expressing some laxity towards the issues on ground in your state, the governors also have to right to be able to stand up and defend their citizens the way Governor Oton did. And I think with that attention will be given to them, and their citizens might be at the safer side, because the federal government is completely ignoring the right strategies that will be able to curtail this issue.
I'll come back to you because there's a lot more questions that are gathering up in my mind as you speak. But let me go to Dr. Bani. Dr. Bani, yesterday the information minister was quoted to be giving us a lecture on the difference between Boko Haram, bandits, and IPOB. And he did lump IPOB with Boko Haram, saying they have ideologies, and those ideologies are not in the best interest of the entity called Nigeria. but that the bandits do not have a flag. They do not necessarily have an ideology of sorts, and so they cannot all be categorized. I'm asking this question because I want to talk about the issue of nomenclature. How do we deal with insecurity, especially one that's a hydra-headed monster like banditry, or whatever name we want to call it, whether they're known gunmen or faceless gunmen or bandits or herders, killer herders? How do we deal with that situation if the government is trying to tell us what to call it and how to report on it?
Well, thank you very much once again for having me. When a government tries as much as possible to rationalize and call criminals a different name, it will also affect their attitude, how to tackle the state of insecurity and the things we've been discussing. I think we are also getting tired of discussing this state of insecurity in Nigeria because virtually every week, one television or the other radio station will assemble experts and they profile all the solutions and talk and tell us what is actually wrong with our security policing system. Our language in order to describe what has happened most of the times policing system. Now, the bandits that came and attacked those people in the market in Sokoto, I understood that there are more than 200 bandits. Where were they coming from? Were there no security, on the road or on the way? Where did they come from? And how did they manage to enter into such an environment, with such a large number of persons that came from wherever they come from and then did what they did and then escaped and nothing happened to them? So what manner of policing system are we using in this country in order to create a state of security? What are we really protecting lives and property, which I know is the primary responsibility of government? So the reactionary strategy is not going to give us effective result. There is no intelligence gathering. There is no practical intention on the part of government to actually fight insecurity, especially when a top bandits and who are terrorists are very patriotic and they love Nigeria so much. If a government official is doing that by way of rationalization, so do you expect that same government to now probably, regard them as enemies who should be dealt with?
But Barrister, this government campaigned over and over again. In fact, this is one of the reasons why many Nigerians voted them into office. One of their cardinal points was that they were going to fight and put an end to insecurity in the country. We're almost 6 years into this administration, and we have not necessarily been able to say that has been done. So really, we expect them to, whether they show us via their body language or not. This is an expectation because they built up that expectation when they were campaigning for our votes.
Yeah, but they have shown you that they don't have the capacity to deal with those promises they made. They made so many promises. Is it on the economic sphere? Is it on the issue of fighting corruption or insecurity? They made so many promises. But you and I know today that those promises, they have not been able to meet with it. They have not in any way fulfilled those promises, and they know it. But my only problem and my own worry is that the same government that knows that they have failed in keeping to those promises they made will come and on our face and throw it on our face and tell you that they are the best government that Nigeria has ever had from 1960 till date, that they have done more than any other government. And I tell you, what have you done? In what area can you really tell Nigeria that you have excelled? Is it in the issue of fighting insecurity? Which area today, which region in Nigeria today is clearly safe? Where can you go to your bed, with your two eyes closed in this country today and say, I am safe because of the fact that the government is one, if not for God himself, who has been so magnanimous in protecting us. The government has maximum security. Knowing fully where that Zamfara, is very close to Sokoto.
In Abuja, in your own words, because, I do not know if the Police Act has room for that. You're a lawyer, so maybe you'd educate us. There has to be room in the Constitution to accommodate state policing, doesn't it?
Yes, there is a process that is ongoing on the amendment of the Constitution, and one of the Republic and what they do in terms of security. To the extent that even their university has their own policing system. Local government has their policing system. So why is it in a big country like this, country like Nigeria, you want every directive to come from Abuja?
Come back to you, Kwana, because issues of security can be very sensitive, and of course, as journalists, we're trained on how to report them. But then the presidency is speaking about journalists. Maybe you could help us understand how we should.
They are bandits, and the press has already joined them to be calling terrorists in this country bandits. So maybe because the collusion and that is happening between the press and them is failing, and that is why he's cautioning the press. If not, we have been encumbered by terrorists in this country, and the government is rather covering terrorism in this country so that they will not have international interventions to help assist them end this crisis. And that is why they keep looking for one excuse or the other to take the international community attention away from what is happening in this country. But it's quite unfortunate that we have a government in this country that have been encumbered by terrorists, and rather than look for assistance and way to flush them out of their boundaries, they are looking for ways to protect them and give them the legal backing to keep oppressing their citizens. And so I expect that journalists should be professional in handling issues that have to do with security in this country, because no one is safe at the end of the day, because they have started even killing the people in quotes, the high places that we felt were safe. The issue that is happening in this country is what the federal government, if they were serious, they could have handled. We have said in time without number that the terrorists that were moving from the northeast into the northwest were going to have more live spaces to operate, because we have more ungoverned spaces in the northwest than the northeast that they were operating. Wow. And if we allow them to occupy our ungoverned spaces in the northwest, it's going to be a huge challenge for the government to handle without the use of technology and with the intervention of the international community. But rather than admit what is happening to us as the people, the federal government has been deploying every tactics to cover it up, to the point of even trying to dictate to the press what they are going to tell our citizens. But I think as citizens, we need to sit up and also seek for help ourselves, because we are the ones that are this. And from the president is quite unfortunate, and I don't think any press person should take that serious.
I mean, before we started talking about Boko Haram, they were just a sleeper cell that were not so known. So maybe, I mean, could it be said that maybe the media has also played a role in making these people relevant? Again, if we do not in any way name them and we just report it as, let's say, a known gunman, or just say terrorists, whatever nomenclature we decide to change it to, or we refuse to put up the numbers and reduce the sensationalism, or maybe just say people were killed and not give numbers, will that in any way help in the fight against insecurity? And this
country, because
even
the journalists themselves, what capacity do they even have to even go to some of these places that these killings are taking place? I have done assessment to even know how many people have been killed and what kind of damage has been done. Even the state governments in those places have concluded that those places are out of their control. In Borno State, in the Boko Haram days, it's something that starts from Biriningwari through Zamfara up to the Niger border. So the Sambisa forest that have been occupied down in the northwest has never ever been reported by the press. But these people are in the Sambisa forest of the Biriningwaris, of the Zamfara, of the Sokotos, and up to Libya at the borders of Nigeria. Have you people ever reported that? All these territories are occupied by the so-called bandits in this country. So there is rather an underreporting of this crisis in this country. So I feel that what the federal government should be doing is to look at strategies that will end this crime and not dictate to people how to report our network, because the damage has already been done.
Okay. Finally, Dr. Bani, still staying with, the issue of reportage, which is the Broadcasting Commission, which is in charge of regulating media houses, told us also how to report on these issues. And it didn't really go down well with, people in the country, aside from the media. We've also seen stations being clamped down on, and sometimes journalists. We saw the most recent was I think it was Channels Television gets facts and put it out there. How do you deal with also not being victimized by the powers that be?
Apart from it to the Nigerian press, in order to hold government accountable and make sure that government is clearly under watch, and then information of what goes in governance being made known to the people. So they are on that premise, under the Constitution, under obligation to do that. And then under the fundamental rights provision, which is in Chapter 4, issue of freedom of expression is there and is guaranteed by the Constitution. And so the press has a constitutional responsibility in informing and also in holding government accountable, that they have no right whatsoever to clamp down on free expression. Free expression of the people is a guaranteed right, and the Nigerian press is under obligation to hold them accountable. Now, let me state, when there is failure in governance, when they have failed in leadership, they don't want people to know about this failure, and next thing they will do is to clamp down and to ensure that you do not have that freedom to report. And when you do, they impose all manner of penalty, including fine, which is what is going on presently. And of course, there are some of the bills that are pending for which stakeholders have clearly opposed, and they are still hell-bent on trying to tackle the people and tell them that they have no right. Remember that they banned Twitter? I am in court presently over that Twitter ban, and many people, including Nigerian Bar Association, they are also in court, and so many other Nigerians and NGOs are in court over this issue of Twitter ban. And they have even threatened to ban more other social platforms in Nigeria, because according to them, they spread fake news. I see no reason why the government should not be tolerant of opposing views. I see no reason why government should not be interested in getting part of the minuses, that we talk about Buhari's government. So they have done it over years now. In fact, it's reported that from 2015 to date, that Nigeria is clearly not under democracy in terms of freedom of expression, that they have clamped down severally on media houses who freely express and inform Nigerians of what is going on in governance. And it's not a good thing because the world has become a group privilege. So people are knowing what is going on here is not right.
Yeah,
I think
knowing, Dr. Bani, knowing is not enough, because I asked that question deliberately. Who protects the journalist? The journalist, yes, is the only profession in the Constitution that's been given a responsibility to be the fourth estate of the realm. But where is the cover for the journalists? Where is the protection for the journalists? We even see media houses that employ these journalists throw them under the bus when, push comes to shove. So really, where is the encouragement to really be a journalist and be unbiased?
Well, I don't think that the journalists have been left alone in this fight. The NGOs and some of the civil society groups have been always on the side of the basic responsibility that the Constitution has assigned to that profession. And of course, judiciary, is final bulwark, against any oppressive pronouncement of any government. So the judiciary is always there. If anyone feels threatened at any point in time about another. So what I think we
Monday Ubani and of course Terence Kwanum, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. We appreciate it.
That's a pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we will discuss the possibility of the PDP convention negatively ending the tenure of its embattled chairman, although
where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration. Bears responsibility for
increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on PlusTvAfrica, please call 0906 0005719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion.
Mondays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Oke Moaro, has said the election of a new crop of Party National Working Committee at the October 30 and 31, 2021 convention. He added that the position of the chairman has been zoned out of the South-South. It means that he can't offer himself for re-election. Well, to break this down, we have joining us the Deputy Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Diron Odeyemi. Thank you very much, Mr. Odeyemi, for joining us. Can you hear me? I think you need to unmute yourself so we can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, I think that we are having connection issues with Mr. Odeyemi. We'll be back in a few seconds. Okay, I think we got him back. All right, Mr. Odeyemi, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? We're having connection issues. We will be back after this break.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we have borrowed.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the two vehicles that were completely burned.
This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel security structure. A multiple core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at our guest. Let's see if he's back with us.
Traditionally, the administration of this term ends on the 9th of December. Even though we'll be having the convention on the 29th, 38th, we are yet to know the format it's going to take. Maybe the newly executive NWC members will take over immediately, or that...
Go ahead.
Or that they are going to wait until after the expiration of this administration. We are yet to know that. All that we know is that there's going to be an election on the 29th/38th. So after the swearing, we don't know if they are going to wait or they are going to ask them to assume office immediately. But whichever is the case, as a party man, we believe the time between October and December are so small. We may not be able to drag it, but that is left to secondaries to determine, not we members of the party or national officer.
Well, let me directly quote Prince Uche Secondus, because he's really spoken about the fact that he's not withdrawing his case that is in court. He said he has no intention of withdrawing his case in court, which is, that case is of course challenging his removal. His media advisor, Ike Abonyi, disclosed this in a statement in the FCT. He said that Secondus was in court to seek justice as well as save the party from manipulations. And now, going back to what you said as the opening, it sounds to me like the PDP does not necessarily have a plan going forward, because you're telling me in October, today is October 19, tomorrow is 20, so you have a couple of days, what am I saying, 10 days before the 30th and the 31st, and you're saying you don't know what format it's going to take. What message is the PDP passing to the public? Can you hear me? Mr. Deyemi, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
All right.
I can't hear you, please.
I will ask the question again.
Hello?
I just read to you a statement from Uche Secondus' spokesperson saying that he's not going to withdraw his case in court. He's challenging his removal, and he's trying to stop the PDP from manipulations. Now, you have started by saying that you're not certain what's, things are going to happen after the convention, if the new committee will take over immediately or they'll wait till December. So I'm asking, does this not have all shades of unpreparedness or indecisiveness written all over it for the PDP? And how should the country be perceiving this?
It's quite unfortunate that we find ourselves in this mess. It's a real mess that we still have to sit down and see how we are going to clear it. In an ideal situation and constitutionally, the terms of this administration ends on the 9th. If the election is taking place on the 30th, which has never happened before, this is the first time it's happened, we will still wait on the leadership of the party on what they are going to do with the, where I'm referring to the highest body, highest decision maker of the party, that is the National Executive Council. Because they are still going to have a meeting that will involve all the leaders, the governors, senators, past and present, where all these things will be ironed out. And that's why I said, in politics, you continue to meet and you continue to dialogue until you are able to reach that amicable way of resolving issues. We know we are in a quagmire now because of the differences in time, but that does not mean that we not sit down and resolve it. Whether the people who are going to be the members of the new NEC will take over immediately, or they are going to wait until December 9. It's just a difference in time. Not that we disagree about the conduct of the election or whatever. So it is the time lag. And what I'm saying in essence is, it depends on the resolution of the National Executive Council, of which will involve everybody. So we continue to take decisions.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
I want to ask, are there really manipulations in the PDP? Is there the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob at play in the People's Democratic Party, being that there are so many strongmen and of course, different interests and many followers? Could that also be the reason why you said that this has never happened before in terms of when a tenure should expire and when the convention should happen? This is the first of its kind. Is this not in any way laying some, or rather giving credence to what your ousted chairman is making reference to?
I would rather answer you.
Mr. Adeyemi, can you? I do not think that you can hear me, but can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Did you hear my question?
I can hear you now.
Yes. Did you get my question, or do you want me to ask it again?
Hello?
Did you hear my question, or would you like for me to ask it again? I think that we are having issues with the connection, so we're going to quickly take another break and fix it, and then we'll be wrapping up this conversation. Stay with us. Manipulation within the PDP as we speak. We know that parties have their, infightings, their disagreements and difference of opinion. But then I want to go back to what the ousted chairman made reference.
Oh. So what you're asking now is if there is manipulation
yes.
in PDP, right?
Yes.
Okay, the best way to answer it is that what we are playing in politics, what we are doing in PDP is pure politics. You agree with me that there are interests, personal interests and group interests, either present or in the future, that is towards 2023. Mm-hmm. And these interests are playing out. Nobody is neutral. Everybody has one interest or the other in the candidate or in what goes on. Mm-hmm. So what we are doing is not manipulation, it's pure politics. Politics of interest, politics as a game, and politics as a member of the same family. So what is going on is pure politics and not manipulation.
Let's talk about the issue of zoning quickly because we're wrapping this up for a long time. Do you agree with that senior stalwart in your party saying that the most important thing is building the internal dynamics of the party other than thinking about zoning?
I can hardly hear you.
Now, is it zoning or building up your party to be strong enough to deal with the APC come 2023? I think that we have lost you. Well, thank you very much. Diran Odeyemi is the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. We apologize for the connection issues. We'll take a quick break and find out what Nigerians have to say about solving insecurity challenges in Nigeria. And when we return, I'll be saying my goodbyes.
I sincerely feel with God mercy committees, an understanding of the people is what matters. Because Nigeria is a multi-ethnic group, a society that is too multifarious as far as tribes are concerned. But our orientation, our sensitization, our belief and understanding has not been helping the system. So Buhari is not a one to do it. He only has to have people of like minds together with him that has the faith of the country and the faith of God in him. Then in the case of insecurity, there is a lot of fallacies about information concerning the security. If Buhari appoints and the people that are appointed with Nigerian factor, you know what I mean by Nigerian factor? Sentimentalities are put into many things, lack of belief and trust in the governed and the governors, in the administrators, in the people that were in our followers, is not there. If during this period we can all keep our faith in one and trust in God, I think it will be better for our president and his executives to find solutions to the problem of insecurity and ethnic diversification or ethnic problem in Nigeria?
I don't think so. I don't think he can solve the ethnic issue because based on Nigeria, because, and the people.
If he have people around him.
Yes, I do believe that the president can solve it. The reason being my yes is, I believe as a retired military man, he has the experience. But because of the juntas who do not want him to succeed from the onset, they are the ones that are behind it. I believe that if all former head of states and security apparatus are well equipped, as he has been doing recently now, I believe this insecurity in this nation can be solved.
I want to thank you all for being part of the conversation, and don't forget you can watch a replay of the show on our YouTube, which is PlusTvAfrica or PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. My name is Mary Anacone. Enjoy the rest of our programs.